Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our meeting today. And let's start with Pat Bass, who can lead us in the pledge and the four-way list.
Please go ahead and flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test, is it the truth? Is it bears all concerns with goodwill and recognition, and will be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you. Okay, Zara.
They're not waiting.
Very, very short. So it's by room, so I love very much. You all are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop.
All right.
Good one, good one. Okay, I didn't see one, but we need visiting Rotarians. Any visiting Rotarians? Okay, how about non-Rotarians? Judy, you want to introduce your guest?
Yeah, so this is Robert White, and he is the director of nursing at Three Rivers. Reached us to recruit him on Rotary, and we're going to elect him to be a speaker one day too, and it's Steve Conway. The city grants pass, he does art along the roads and the Christmas tree and a bunch of cool stuff. We're also recruiting him. And downtown.
I do it all.
Oh, excellent, yeah. He's been-
Yes.
Now, I have two guests to introduce our speakers, but I'll wait until it's time for them and give them a more proper introduction. Oh, Kelly, that's you in a long time. How you doing? Okay, how about announcements? Do we have any announcements that we'd like to make? Come on up.
I wasn't expecting it that quickly, so I'm chewing. Sorry. So save the date for Thursday, January 25th. That will be our January fellowship night. We're gonna get together at a little place downtown called Taylor's Brewing. They have beer, they have a little bit of wine, not a great selection of wine, so if you're a wine drinker, you can bring your own bottle. They have cider, they have a food truck with all kinds of yummy stuff. They're going to reserve half of the room for us. So I'm gonna need a head count to make sure we have enough seating for everybody. I'll send out an email and ask you if you plan to attend, and if so, how many people you'll be bringing. Kids are allowed. And if you have any other questions, you can ask me, but just keep an eye out for that email and save the date. Thank you.
Well, I don't have a huge amount to talk about just yet for the shoes that fit, but we are planning on it to be taking place in March with the Williams Elementary School. So that's all done. We've got enough funds that we're going to be able to buy shoes for every student. We actually had some socks left over from the backpack program, so I figured we will also take those out, as well as some other things. I still don't quite understand how we had extras of stuff left over from the backpack program. I'm a little concerned about that. We had 25 peanut butter, and it's like, I need 240. So those can also go out to the Williams School, because we know that they're going to be in need of that as well. But just remember, if you haven't yet gone through the school process of getting approved to be a volunteer, we need you to do that and do it right away. Yeah, because it can take a couple of weeks to get you approved. And I don't want you to be there at the last minute going, okay, great, I want to go and help, with these children and be able to do this wonderful program, and then have them say, no, you can't come in because you didn't get it done in time. So anyway, just kind of a reminder, go out and go through Three Rivers School District to be able to get on the volunteer if you're looking at coming and helping out with the Shoes That Fit program in March.
And just a reminder that, for Mint, our Thursday morning breakfast in the park. I am collecting money that people would like to give toward the food. And when I say food, the cooking of the food for the breakfast casseroles, for the biscuits and muffins that get made, and even for the dog food. Because we are interested in taking care of the dogs. There are many dogs out there. And, I want to thank our two frozen people, Dawn and Tommy. Dawn did the casseroles and the biscuits today, along with Deb Harpster, who was at the head of that. And Tommy did the coffee service, which is coffee. Right, and Leonora did the clothes. And so we do have a group of us. Oh, Eileen is here. Okay, yay. And Eileen is in charge of the clothes. No, she's not. Eileen, do you need to come up here?
One of the volunteers.
She's one, I know you're one of the volunteers, but you're the one that's always at the place there. So brilliantly, Tommy came up with the idea that we should put who's cooking when, which is a list I created in the e-navigator. And so it is gonna go in there. I'm gonna take care of that today. And I will be creating a list for February. And when I do that, my hope is to not burn us out. I want us only to cook or serve coffee once a month, if possible, so that we get enough people in our bank to do this, so that we don't burn each other out. And we have things like vacations, like next week, Tommy and I will not be available to help with that sort of thing. So the envelope for anybody that wants to donate, because hey, not everybody wants to cook. And I get that. And if you don't want to cook, you can give us a little contribution, and I'm giving that money out to people that cook, that will take it from you. I'm looking at you. Okay, thank you.
And another thing that I want you to know for sure is that, I don't like these.
So anyway, I need help with coffee serving. It's 3 hours in the morning and yes, you can come back frozen, but.
you also make.
Well, no, we're gonna, that's getting switched around. We're not gonna be making the coffee. Bethany is gonna be making the coffee. So at least that's our hope. And then if anybody that lives in town, that counts you out, Jody. And Dawn, and me. Anyway, if anyone lives in town and wouldn't mind having, clothing dropped off during February because, our friend, there she is going traveling. You're doing good.
No, you don't get it. You're not.
Anyway, we're trying to spread this out so we don't get hurt out, right? The caution site for the clothing that gets donated, the clothing that gets donated, I don't get these things. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so I said keep that in.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. So anyway, and it's kind of really wonderful to serve coffee or the food to these folks and give them the clothing because they are so appreciative. Other thing, back there by Susan is a bag, blue and white bag that has a bunch of the readers in it. And we brought readers today to donate for the giveaway. Doug told me that we should be collecting them, so back here on the pool table.
Forgot yours? Oh.
Thank you. Oh, one more thing, just to remind you, we are having the point in time contact census on January 24th. I haven't seen anything related to our club per se about how to get involved, but that's this program in which unhoused people come, for example, to the fairgrounds and they register as part of how we enumerate the number of citizens in our country. Anyway, it's called the point in time census. It's a homeless count and homeless connect. It's on January the 24th. So just pay attention.
Glasses are for, we're gonna give them the glass.
Right, thank you. And we're collecting old glasses. And we're passing them out, readers, whatever. Anyway, okay, so let's get on with our program. We have two speakers today from the Southern Oregon Land Conservancy. And I could say quite a bit about them, but I'd rather give time to them and let them do the talking. Anyway, let me do a brief introduction. So Tara Laidlaw, there's Tara over there. She's our education program manager. And Tara was a ballerina in elementary and middle school and also in high school. And she once told me that she thought being a ballerina, that experience and her skill level helped her get into Stanford University. So she actually went to Stanford, and where she got a degree in anthropological sciences and dance, which I think is actually fascinating. And then so that was one of the unique things about her dancing. She went on to get a master's degree in natural science and environmental education from Hamline University, which is in St. Paul, Minnesota. And she has over 10 years of experience in all kinds of things, but essentially it's related to education and outdoor education, program development, internships, training, curriculum development, and education. And one of her most recent accomplishments is something after my own heart. She's become an ultra distance runner, and she gets into these races, like these 50-mile races through the mountains and things like that. So, yeah, it'd be pretty tough to do this. Okay, that's Tara. Christy Megenthaler, right there. She's our stewardship director, and she has a degree in geography and in geology and graduate study in botany. And Christy is possibly the most passionate person I've ever met about the outdoors and nature and the love of nature. And when we're outside with her, we go on, we do this stewardship work at different, this property in Sands Valley. We go on these monitoring visits at different properties that have easements. And it's funny, actually, both of them show the same thing. They're just absolutely joyous when we're outside. They just radiate happiness and joy. And what's fun to hang out with Chrissy is you can ask her, what is that plant? What is that tree? A bird flies by, you hear a sound. What is that? I swear okay, she's not perfect, but probably about 99% of the time she nails it. I mean, so it's always fun. And she loves the scent of, is it tar weed? Is that what it is? Vinegar weed, sorry. But pressing saying you smell her, and my thought is we should make that perfume out of that and make some money off of it. She's setting up to go to the South Pole. And last year she got a little distracted because she had the opportunity to go actually up into the Northwest Passage in Canada, and she made it above the Arctic Circle. So these are two of the most interesting, fearless, smartest, funnest people I've ever met. And so Sarah and Christy.
Yeah, just pull it, yeah.
Thank you, Jim. Jim, by the way, is a long-term volunteer with Southern Oregon Land Conservancy. He serves on the board, he's chair of our lands committee, and then he goes out in the field with us. For instance, yesterday, in the rain, he was pulling T-posts with us out at Red River Preserve, and we adore him, and he's one of the kindest and most curious people I know. But we're grateful to be here with the Rotary, and your dedication to the community is just absolutely inspiring what you do for the local community. But we're here to talk about the work of Southern Oregon Land Conservancy.
You want me to start it up now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
We hear that we have about 15 minutes each. I'll try not to overtalk. The first couple slides, I think, get at the heart, at least for me, of what a land trust does. You know, the day-to-day work of any job, you know, can be tedious at times, but this is why I'm working for Southern Oregon Land Conservancy and not making big bucks for the corporation. This word solastalgia, it describes the heartbreak of losing landscapes of places that you love because of overdevelopment. For me, I spent part of my childhood in Sherwood, Oregon, and played in wetlands, hunted for Bigfoot, watched the gray foxes walking on the rock walls, caught a lot of snakes. And now that area is not open green space and a farm with forests and a wetland, it's now a subdivision. Many of us, the places that we loved as a childhood or places where we grew up, we've just seen changes. And many of those changes are necessary and people most certainly need places to work and live. The work of the land trust, I think, is to keep it beautiful where we live. Next slide. Also, I think the work of the land trust is to keep the common species still common. So western gray squirrel, very common. Where I live, it's the most common roadkill. In Washington State, it's now an endangered species because of the loss of oak trees and large conifers. One of the few places you can see it is in the Eastern Gorge in the state of Washington. I heard that in the 1970s in the Illinois Valley, one of the most common roadkill were porcupine, and now they're mostly gone. And that's what happens because of human activities. Even our common species are disappearing. We know that even our common birds, they've lost 30% of their population since the 1970s, including western meadowlark, our state bird. We still have them out here. We have meadows and pastures and open space, but in the Willamette Valley, they're mostly gone. Next slide. And I'm a botanist, and one reason I live in Southwest Oregon is because you go up and over hills and valleys and you find plants that live nowhere else in the world. In fact, we are in what's called the California Floristic Province, and which is made up of many special places like you see in Nevada, with many uncommon and rare plants. But Southwest Oregon has more rare plants, endemic plants that live nowhere else per area than any other subregion in the California Floristic Province. And this is an example behind me of some of the rare plants. Many of them are only found in Josephine County. So that lower row, if you go to the left side, lower row, the first one, that big white one, is called Calocortis howellii, or Howell's Mariposa lily. You only find it in the Illinois Valley. The other ones on the bottom also you only find in the Illinois Valley in the entire world. So we have these beautiful jewels of flowers that are our heritage, that are our neighbors, and they need a place to live. Next. Here's a sort of famous quote by Aldo Leopold, one of famous conservationists and wildlife biologists. Land trusts work on non-federal land in conservation. And they work cooperatively with landowners to conserve our lower elevation lands in this region. Next. So we work with Southern Oregon Land Conservancy, the local regional land trust has been around since the 1970s. At first it was, I think it's putting in moose. It's been around, and at first it was run all by volunteers, and some of those volunteers are still volunteering with us. This is a picture from our regular preserve, which is by Eagle Point, and there's a large herd of elk that hang out there during the winter. Next. So essentially we do two things. We work cooperatively with landowners and agencies and the community to conserve land. And then we also try to connect people with the natural world, to foster love and connections through our programs. We have a hike program, we have pub talks, and we have these wonderful youth education programs that Tara runs. Next. So in Southwest Oregon, we mostly work in Jackson and Josephine counties. We've conserved about 13,000 acres, and in 2 months, there's going to be a couple more acres coming our way. We conserve lands using kind of two tools. One is called a conservation easement, which can get a little wonky, but essentially that is a legal tool that stays on the land, no matter who the owner is. We work cooperatively with private landowners to come up with the terms of these conservation easements, but essentially they stay private lands, but they restrict certain kinds of developments. For instance, farm soil cannot be paved over, or the forest can't be cleared out, or the woodlands can be managed for biodiversity and wildlife. And so we hold 73 conservation easements. We have 28 actually we hold in Josephine County, but then we also have preserves that we care for and cherish too that we own. Next. Just wanted to talk briefly about conservation easements, I will say that the landowners who put conservation easements on their land are some of the most extraordinary people I've ever met. And in some cases, we are working with the secondary or the third or fourth landowners since the conservation easement was put on the property. But it is a choice of love. What people are doing is they are agreeing to reduce some of the preserved rights on their property. They're agreeing to not allow there to be 10 houses built on the property or that the forest be clear cut. The benefits, usually the main one is people want to leave a legacy for their wildlife and plant neighbors and for their children and for the community. But there also can be financial benefits too with conservation easements. Next. And these conservation easements, they still are in the tax base. People are still paying property taxes, although they can be reduced with certain kinds of conservation easements. And then just the greater community benefits of carbon storage, places for pollinators, places for wildlife, water storage, and these conservation easements just help keep our region beautiful. Next. Some of our conservation easements are on city lands. In fact, I think it's about 500 acres of our conservation easements. So Orton's Woods, Siskiyou Mountain Park, which are up above Ashland, but also we hold conservation easements in the Jacksonville woodlands. Why would there be a conservation easement on city lands? Well, like for instance, with the Jacksonville woodlands, the community decided they wanted to keep the backdrop around the city, the oak woodlands and forests and meadows, and have trails. And over time, the community raised money to buy these properties around Jacksonville. And then they gave the properties to the city of Jacksonville. And as a way to ensure that those lands will always be community lands for wildlife and people with trails, the conservation easements help protect that long-term legacy. Because at times, city managers have, when they look for ways to get more revenue, sometimes they consider selling these city lands, these parts. Next. An example of a farm where we hold a conservation easement is Eagle Mill Farm in Ashland. The landowner wanted to always make sure that the children of the community got free pumpkins. We have other conservation easements in Williams, like at White Oak Farm. Next. We hold quite a few on the east fork of the Illinois River with spectacular biodiverse lands with beaver and Pacific fisher and endemic flowers. Did you know that we have an endemic rare trillium, the Siskiyou trillium that grows in the Illinois Valley? Next. Just a last example of a conservation easement. This is one of my favorites. It's in Sam's Valley by the Table Rocks. It includes grazing land. It includes a pine plantation. It includes fields where barley and other grains are grown, but it also includes an oak woodland full of deer and elk, and also a large population of the federally endangered Gitner's fiddleria, this big, red, gorgeous lily. And it's just a spectacular place. Next. And then we have preserves like Bird River Preserve. Next. This one again is by the Table Rocks and Eagle Point, and we have an Open Lands Day where the community is invited coming up if you would like to visit on the 27th. It's free, but you will have to register. So the property includes 2 miles of Bird River, a lovely 16-acre elk island, where the elk actually go and have their babies. A big giant floodplain forest where bald eagles and great horned owls breed, oak woodlands, chaparral, and then this habitat called vernal pool mounded prairie, where the landscape is lumpy. An extension of the agate desert. Next. The floodplain forest is magnificent. It is the second biggest floodplain forest upstream of the Belize. And that's just a big flat area where the water goes wherever it wants. Our valleys used to have much more floodplain forests. They're really important for water storage. Next. We actually have pretty flowers in them. Next. And there's all these backwaters and sloughs and wetlands, and it's perfect haven for little baby salmon when there's high water. The main part of the Bird River is a place where Chinook salmon spawn. One of the creeks is where coho steelhead spawn. And during the fall, if you're lucky, if you walk around the floodplain forest, you'll find where the black bear had pulled in the dead and dying carcasses of the Chinook salmons, and with towering bear scat right next to them. It's a very stinky but kind of cool thing. Next. We have reserves on the agate desert, again, this vernal pool mounded prairie, where there's no trees and there's lots of agates. And this landscape, there's only about 17% left of it around the Table Rocks in Eagle Point. It's flat, it's valley floor, it's a very convenient place for people to live and have industry. Camp White during World War II was also in the area. However, when we still find this habitat, we find 3 federally endangered species. And one of them is found nowhere else in the world, the large flowered woody meadowfoam that grows next to the vernal pools. Another preserve is Pompadour Bluff outside of Ashland with a big iconic cliff. Great habitat for all kinds of nesting creatures in the cliffs. Great habitat actually for western rattlesnakes, which I know many people are very concerned about, but they are declining and sensitive and are disappearing, and I think are worthy of respect. Next. Some of the habitats we especially are interested in protecting are oak woodlands. In our region, since Euro-American settlement, we only have less than 10% left in our region, which is much better than Willamette Valley or Washington State. Oak woodlands support more wildlife than any other habitat. Everything from acorn woodpeckers to wood ducks to elk to bear. They love those acorns. They love that habitat. And they are beautiful, spectacular places to be. Next. And one habitat especially of interest to us is a very rare rock found on Earth that originated deep in the mantle, 17 to 20 kilometers deep into the Earth. And the rare occurrences where you find serpentine rocks on the surface of the Earth, on the continent, is less than 1%. Where you find these rocks, you find rare things. And this map shows Josephine County and where these serpentine soils are, these mantle rock soils. And Josephine County, in some ways, are under additional threat because of land use zoning. There's serpentine, and that means that they can be subdivided every 5 acres. These rare habitats full of water and poker lilies, versus forest land, they can be subdivided with our land use laws every 160 acres. So this is a special habitat under threat, and I will say that the marijuana hemp industry has added to the threats to this habitat. Yes. I'm gonna skip this, I feel like I'm talking too much. We have focus areas. We can go to the next one. We love working with students and researchers. This was a student group from Southern Oregon University. Students coordinated a trip to Elk Island where we rafted, and then we pulled towering giant Scotch brooms, which are invasive species. If any of you have young people in your life, just let them know that we love working with their classes. We love mentoring students on their research projects. And right now we're even helping a middle school student with her plant project. Next. So in short, we're the local land trust. And we do have ways that we can potentially engage. We are always looking for volunteers. Our volunteers help us with our committees. They help us with planning our events. They help us remove fence posts and count flowers and collect seeds and full scotch room. We also have community hikes. And actually this, next spring, we're have a community hike that will go to a new preserve for us on Laidlaw Mountain. I'm hoping that maybe some of you can come, or maybe we can have a special Rotary hike to Laidlaw Mountain. And go see some of those special plants that grow on mountain rocks. We also have pub talks and then the youth program education stuff that Tara is involved with, and she's gonna talk about that next.
So Christy gets to hang out with all the beautiful flowers and the birds chirping, and this is who I hang out with. The children covered in mud, and I love it. So Southern Oregon Land Conservancy is kind of unusual in that there is a staff role specifically for youth education, and I feel very lucky and very honored to be in this role. And I've only been with the organization for coming on 4 years now. So next slide, you can see in, so I started in March of 2020. I had a grand total of 2 days in the office before things got really weird. And so 2020 was kind of our exploratory year, trying to build connections with some teachers and administrators in public schools. But then you can see we have been steadily ramping up our numbers. And in 2023, we provided 2,355 student days of programming, which is super exciting. And what the student days thing means is that we really make an effort to work with students more than once in a school year. Because it's easy to do like, okay, we're having a 1-day field trip, go, go, go. And they go, 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 and then they leave and you never see them again. And it's really hard to build a relationship with the students. It's hard to help them build a relationship with place. And so we make an effort. Almost every student that I work with, I will go meet with them in their classroom first, and then see them in the field 1, 2, 3, 4 times in a school year. And so this represents, so like a student who has a school campus visit and then 2 field trips is 3 student days. So you can see we are growing. We are super excited. We're probably going to be adding a new staff role, a permanent part-time staff role, to support me and our education program, because we are growing so much. There's such a demand for what we're offering to our community, which is so exciting. Next. So we work, we have primarily worked in Jackson County so far, but part of our strategic plan is being really deliberate about building connections in Josephine County in the coming years. As Christy mentioned, we've got a collection of really fabulous properties. Some of them we own, some of them we hold conservation easements on, including Pompadour Bluff, that is that big cliff you saw. Orton Todd Woods and Jacksonville Woodlands are examples of municipal properties where we hold an easement. The Rogue River Preserve, that's where we saw those elk hanging out in the river. Alder Creek Community Forest is an example of a really interesting hybrid. It's a privately owned property, but they have in the past done a lot of school programming on site. We hold the conservation easement, and we're eager to connect with them and explore more how we might bring kids out onto that property again. Cathedral Hills, we don't have an official affiliation, but I often collaborate with folks from the Bureau of Land Management. And we've actually run a couple programs at Cathedral Hills for teachers, so that we're starting to build those relationships with teachers. And often we find that if teachers come to one of my professional development workshops, then they're willing to sign their kids up for a field trip. So, you know, and reel them in that way. And then, as Christy mentioned, we've got some really exciting stuff coming our way in the neighborhood of $8 Mountain. And that feels like a really prime opportunity to connect more with our Josephine County schools and students moving forward. Next. So we take kids outside. For many of these students, this is their first time going on a hike. It's kind of hard to imagine. I was lucky enough to grow up with a family who went camping and went hiking, and this was run of the mill. But this particular group of students, here we are in Orton Todd Woods in Ashland. And often teachers will have their students write me a thank you note, just like as a continuation of their field trip experience. And I don't know which kid it was, but one of these students in their thank you note said that the most exciting part of their day was crossing this creek because they had never crossed a creek on rocks before. And I didn't even think to recognize how fun and cool this was. And for one of these kids, this was like a mind-blowing experience. And it feels really special that SOLC can be in a position to take kids out and be like, look, we can cross the creek, like we can tiptoe across the and be right in the water. You know, we can sit on the ground. Next, please. We can sit on the ground. I have little yoga mats for them to borrow. We can sit on the ground and we can get really curious about what's around us. And what we use as our primary teaching tool for all of our programs is nature journaling, which is a super flexible and adaptable approach to teaching science skills, language literacy skills, math skills, but also social emotional skills. And when we're nature journaling, we invite students to use a combination of words, pictures, and numbers to describe what they notice, what they wonder, and what they are reminded of. And this is a pretty simple framework, but it really allows for incredible connection with this. And so that's what we're doing here. Students are sitting by the creek working in their journals. Next. Here's another example. This one is at the Road River Preserve. This was during a silent sit, which is an activity that you kind of scaffold up to. You know, I don't kind of do a silent sit at the very first thing of the day, but by the end of the day, students have built enough journaling skills, they've built enough of a relationship with me and the place that we actually sit silently for up to a half an hour. And often we'll get a teacher, you know, when I'm describing the case, like, okay, here's our final challenge of the day. It might be really hard, but I think you can do it. We're going to sit silently for 30 minutes. The teacher is in the background, like, and so we invite students to spread out, use that same journaling structure that they've been practicing, and regularly, I hear from kids that this was their favorite part of the day. They tell me things like, that was the most relaxed I've ever felt in my life. They tell me things like, I didn't know I could sit still. I've never been able to hear myself think, right? I've had students say, you know, Ms. Sarah, I thought that I hated writing, but I just wrote for 2 whole pages, right? These are kids, and this is like, this is rocket science. This is not a super complicated thing. We are just inviting students to sit and be present and be curious. There's like a little bit of structure, a little bit of gentle, you know, considering engaging with the place in this way. And then the amount that students take in is extraordinary. Next. So here we have some students working in a field of wildflowers. Where else would I ever want to be? Next. And these are some examples of student work from that wildflower spot. You can see here on the right of the screen, this is a student who was using words, pictures, and numbers to describe this little flower that he was observing with a hand lens. And he identified like which flower he thought had opened first, second, and third. There's notes about, you know, inside, second flower, third flower. He noted that they have 5 petals each. One of my favorite things is that, you know, I asked them to use numbers. And he wrote that this flower is 5/10 the size of a small rock. Not a particularly scientific method, but what this tells me, like I can say anything about fractions. And what this tells me is that this student is learning fractions in the classroom, and he was practicing that content or that concept in another situation, which is awesome. I also love that he named it Jamal the Bold Flower, because for the rest of the day, you know, I invite students to name the flowers themselves. I'm not gonna be like, well, that's a Western buttercup. Like that name doesn't mean anything to the kid. I heard the student for the rest of our hike, as we hiked, correctly identify Western buttercup for the rest of the hike. But he wasn't saying, oh, there's Western buttercup, there's Western buttercup. He was saying, hey, Jamal, there's my buddy, it's my friend, right? What was so amazing, he had built a genuine personal relationship with this flower, and he was able to identify it out of the original context where he went. And that feels like a win to me. Next slide, please. So we do a lot of youth education through schools. We have also started dabbling in out of school programming. We had a really fabulous collaboration with Community Center for Farm Worker Advocacy, where we're working with students in the Latinx community to get them out onto open spaces throughout Valley, including Roxanne. We got like blizzarded on, which was pretty amazing for these kids. And for the adults, everything. Next, please. And then here's our teachers, one of our teacher workshops in the Cathedral Hills Park. So in addition to working directly with youth, we work with teachers, not only to entice them to sign up for our field trips, but also to empower them to take their own students outside, whether that's on the school campus or in public properties like Cathedral Hills, which is super exciting to let them feel like they don't need me there to do this. They can take their kids outside and have a really successful day. So that is kind of in a very quick nutshell what our education programs are all about, and we are super excited to be expanding this program and growing it, helping students really start to build relationship with these special places that Southern Oregon Land Conservancy gets to protect, but also with other public parks and open areas in this really special, remarkably biodiverse region. So thank you.
We've got time for questions, if anyone has questions. Oh, of course.
For the trip that, the kids have to stay for half an hour, how long is the road trip?
Great question. So typically I'll be out in the field anywhere from like 2 to 4 hours with the kids. Sometimes we don't get to sit for a full half an hour. Sometimes it's like, get back to the bus. We can do it in 15 minutes. But yeah, I always encourage students, the teachers to book for as long a visit as possible.
I was told to come use the microphone. So my question to you is, I didn't see anything from either of you about mushrooms. And this has been a fabulous, fabulous year. I have several mushrooms. I won't say what one of my given names is from, but, well, because it's mixed company. But anyway, do you do anything with mushrooms?
We love them. We smile at them, we take photographs of them. And sometimes on some of our conserve lands, we host mushroom walks. We also love lichens, which are somewhat classified as mushrooms. And actually some of our land supports some rare lichens on trees and cliffs, but they are exceptional.
Any other questions? I have a comment. So I have some oak savanna.
Yeah.
And I would love to have you all bring some kiddos out there. The Fritillaria. Now I'm in northern Josephine County. We have Fritillaria, we have trilliums, we have a lot of the ones that you were saying, as well as all these fabulous mushrooms.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
They still do that? Is 8th grade outdoor ed still part of the program to do that?
Thank you. Yeah, so Oregon has some really special legislation on the books. Measure 99 takes funding from a lottery money and puts it specifically so that students in 5th and 6th grade have an outdoor school experience. And we are actually currently developing a partnership with someone who is exploring the possibility for single-day providers like Southern Oregon Land Conservancy to access some of that Measure 99 funding. Right now, mostly it's like camps and places that have facilities for students to stay overnight that are outdoor school providers, but there's a growing number, especially here in Southern Oregon. We have like an incredible wealth of environmental educators, I think, related to SOU's Environmental Ed Masters program. We have this incredible collection of single-day providers like us who are coming together to figure out how to make accessible outdoor education that can access some of that funding. But yeah, it's something really special in Oregon that public school students have access to a minimum of 3 outdoor education days per year. And right now, any programs that kids are with us for are not considered part of those 3 days. So this is like above and beyond. Great question.
So I'm curious, you mentioned Cathedral Hills and $8 Mountain.
What kind of agreements do you have for Cathedral Hills? And do you have anything on the, is it Dollar Mountain where they're trying to build the bike trails and stuff, city, county negotiations?
Yeah, so I can speak to the relationship with Cathedral Hills, and I'll hand it over to Christy to talk about Avon Mountain. So as I mentioned, we don't have any official like organizational affiliation with Cathedral Hills. That's a Bureau of Land Management property, and it's open to the public. So we go there for our teacher training programs, and we encourage teachers to take their students there. But like Southern Oregon Land Conservancy doesn't hold conservation easement there. We just collaborate with the government landowner.
As for $8 Mountain, about half of $8 Mountain is forest service and state land, but about the other half is private lands. And we are working on conserving 2 of those private lands. And one of them in particular, we think will be an excellent place to bring the community and school children. Does that answer your question?
I lived here most of my life, but I still get the mountains confused. So there's $8 Mountain, and then there's just Dollar Mountain. And Dollar Mountain's up off P Street.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing about.
It's by Sound.
Yeah. And so do you have anything with Dollar Mountain?
No.
And then the other controversy in the community that I read about in the paper is with the tract of land that the county commissioners might sell to. You know anything about that?
We certainly talked to the different parties. High Sport belongs to Josephine County. It's next to Forest Service land. And it's the upper part of Williams Creek outside of Williams. And the community has been trying to negotiate with the county to buy it. And then maybe someday transfer it to another, the BLM. And I feel like it's sort of, conservation takes a long time. And so it could be a couple more years before that property is conserved. When we work with landowners, conservation sometimes isn't the outcome, but then 10 years later, in fact, the Red River Preserve, the landowners reached out to us in the 1990s, and then they reached out to us again in 2014, and it was 2017 when we acquired it, and they gave us a bargain sale. We find that the larger the families are, the more complicated it is. But we even find that husband and wives don't always agree. One person wants to conserve it, the other one doesn't want to. But conservation is just takes time. It takes talk about building relationships and trust. We're here. We're persevering and waiting and patience and are available for conservation.
I'm curious who owns the boardwalk trail where the Dartmouth Tony and you showed pictures of.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping it's protected because it's exceptional.
Yes, that's owned by the BLM. That is a wonderful place, and the property up above it is owned by the county. And at one point they were going to sell it, and then they changed their mind. But that is the property that feeds the water into Howe Fen. The boardwalk goes through Howe Fen, which is one of the bigger fens, and the fen is a wetland where the water moves through. And when it's on serpentine soils, we tend to have herds of cobra lilies. Has everyone here seen cobra lilies, our local carnivorous plant? Yeah, that is a very special place. $8 Mountain, by the way, is a hot spot within a bigger water hotspot. It is a fabulous mountain, and it has water pouring out of it. Okay, any other questions?
Sudden oak death is an issue on the Oregon coast. Has that started to impact our region, and what are we doing about that?
Oh, one thing with globalization is non-native plant diseases are just devastating. Southern oak death is a Phytophthora, which is a kind of water mold. There's other kinds of Phytophthora that are not native to this region that are threatening our species. So far, my understanding of Southern oak death is it's slow but spreading even with containment. Please do not move firewood from one region to another. Please work with nurseries that have the best ethics and sanitation practices. We also know that the Oregon ash borer, the ash borer is now revived in Oregon, and our wonderful Oregon ash that grow along our streams might be threatened. And I feel like every couple of years there is a new disease that's brought to our region that our wildlife and the plants are not adapted to. So, Forest Service pathologists and biologists and Oregon State folks are working on these diseases, but it's not looking good, as well as the white pine blister rust, which impacts like our 5-needle pine trees. But there are other good news out there, right? Any other questions?
This is an easy one for you, I'm sure. What was the cute little brown furry creature that was kind of new? Yeah.
So one of the slides, there was someone holding kind of a long brown creature. That is a Pacific fisher. So they're in the weasel family, but they spend most of their time up in the trees, and they do look like elongated teddy bears. They weigh about 16 pounds. They are not doing great. You know, when your Americans first came here, a very popular activity and a very lucrative one was trapping out our fur-bearing animals, beaver, but Pacific fishers were hit hard. Interestingly, the Clamacystis seems to be a place where there still are some remaining. There's other areas where they're all gone, but they are adorable. I'm still waiting to see one. If you're ever driving at night and you see a brownish animal kind of humping along, that could be a Pacific fisher. But also, if you hear a noise in the tree, look up, because it might not just be one of our beautiful squirrels. It could be a Pacific fisher or a close relative, the pine marten. It's kind of a red tree, kind of weasel, but beautiful species. Any other questions?
Thank you so much. Wonderful, I know what it means. And now we move on to Greg Fishwick and Sergeant Arms.
Thank you, Jim. All right. First of all, can anyone help Susan sell the last, looks like 10 or 12 cards? Anyone wants to help move around the room, or come up and buy them? We'll finish that at the end. I wanted to use my Sergeant at Arms time to talk a little bit about our Super Bowl pool, because the main point of the pool is not the football game or the watch party, but it's every Rotarian every year contribute to the annual fund share part of the Rotary Foundation. The reason this is important is because this money comes back to the district 3 years after it's invested and have 3 years of earnings in the Rotary Foundation. The money comes back to us. And Tom, I'm going to put you on the spot here in a little while. She's been a conversation over here with our guests, but the grant projects that come in, we have used this money. We win one of these grants almost every year. So the money that we donate actually comes back to us, and it helps the whole community. We built part of Foundry Village with one of these grants. We built a healthcare facility in Tibet with one of these grants. We have done numerous things, and we have a grant for them. Yeah, just Tom, tell us a bit about a couple of other grants that Tom's been our grant chair for a long time and knows about our history. Yeah, so I was looking for something to help her and maybe take her place. But you want to tell us a little bit about some of the grants that our club has won from the district grant fund, which comes from the annual fund share,
Which is always a good thing to donate to. You're donating your every Rotary your thing. Anyway, well, whatever. You are of all the words, yeah, right. Okay, there you go. So Southern Oregon Land Conservancy with Jim asked us, to consider this. The district loves the grant. And so it's to help Tara go out and go up. Well, where on the map you want to go, show the kiddos all of the wonderful stuff that's out there. We, early on, years ago, when I first joined the club, which is 20 years ago, we supported some activities in Nepal. We supported other things in Croatia, which was with Ellie McCoy is one of our members, who's not always here because she's in Mexico sunny. But her son is over in the Croatia, that area, and so we've supported over there. That enough? Okay, good.
Couple of examples. So, if you happen to read in the Rotary magazine this month, this is the 15th consecutive year that the Rotary Foundation has been given 4-star rating, which is the highest rating from Charity Navigator. That means that they're using the money wisely. Another thing I can tell you about the Rotary Foundation is many of us are Rotary Direct members, which is the automatic deduction. Some of you will not qualify for E-rate because your money is going to Polio Plus, which is wonderful. But we have, I think, 32 members that are not E-rate every Rotarian every year because the money's not going to the annual fund share. It's going to Polio Plus. That's different. It's wonderful. It's matched by the Gates Foundation, and it's a fantastic effort. But one of the reasons that we as a club like to achieve E-rate, which means everyone in our club has donated at least $25, which is why each square in the pool costs $25, is that in the last 10 years, we have been Middle-Sized Club of the Year, I think 4 times. Every time we have won that award, we have been a E-rate club. So we have done that 6 times, but won the award for best middle-sized club 4 times. What I'm trying to tell you is it's connected. So if we can achieve that, we have a shot at being the best club in the district. So please participate. The best deal is for $25, you get 1 ticket, and you also sign up for Rotary Direct and hopefully put up annual share as your designated donation part of the fund. You get an extra bonus square, so you get 2 for the price of 1. For $100, you get 4 squares, $25 for little math for our journals. And you get Fishwick's famous 5th one free. So you get a bonus square there. And if you also sign up for Rotary Direct, or you're already on Rotary Direct, you get another bonus square. So you get 6 for the price of 4. So we had a good turnout already today. I always try to balance the books when I get back. So make sure that those who paid cash signed in. There's a sign-up sheet to make sure that I can match the checks with the cash and the et cetera, and the number of squares that are picked. The squares are all equally, they have an equal random chance. We don't draw the numbers that go with the scores of the game until we've filled all the squares. So that means every single square on the board right now has the exact same numerical random chance to win. If you win, you get a Paul Harris Fellow Award, which normally takes $1,000 of donations. So if you're new to Rotary, and you're donating, say, $100 a year, it can take you 10 years to get a Paul Harris Fellow Award. But here, for $25, you can get a chance. Okay, that's enough of background. Continue to participate. I appreciate everyone who's already jumped in. We need to sell the rest of the cards. And Zara, questions? Oh, thank you. Yeah, we will have a watch party at the Grass Museum of Art. The game is February 11th, that's a Sunday. So if you want to come, we would love to have you. We'll have door prizes. The game starts at 3:30. We'll start the party at 3. And if you want to bring the door prize with you, that's fine, it's optional. We will have a game that we play for people who don't like football or don't care about the game. Many of you also like the advertisements. So when you come, you'll get a slip of paper, or maybe more than that, depending on the attendance. Where I've gone to a website that tells me who's going to advertise during the Super Bowl. And you look at the name of the company, like Frito-Lay or something. And if your ad, if you get the name of the company, is the first ad in any commercial break from between the national anthem and the break after the game, you'll get your prize. So we try to have fun at the party. That's another thing we try to do is we try to make our club be E-Ray by having fun. So thanks again. Let's ask for some happy bucks and let's help Susan sell the last, you just play your sold out, Susan? Not sold out yet? So Susan needs to sell a few more cards, or else they'll go to the antique shop, right? Okay, happy bucks, please. Where's that? Huh?
Well, I have a happy bug for, our illustrious, school board member over here who continues to support good education. Thank you, Debbie.
Yes, thank you. Any more? Good.
I just wanted to point out that the theater classes at Grand Pass High School are putting on some one-act plays, kinds of things at the high school in honor of Martin Luther King weekend. I know that the Methodist Church also has a activity going on.
Monday.
It's on Monday.
On
Monday at 5 p.m. I'll be there. Or it starts at 6. I'll be there at 5.
So anyway, there are things in the community going on for Martin Luther King Day that are growing. Last year they had like one activity, so this year they have like 3. And I find that as a positive and we're doing something for our community.
I suppose
You have more detail about what
I
we
do.
do.
I do. Last year, the Martin Luther King event that we had at Newman United Methodist was probably the best event I've ever attended in my life. It was so impactful, and to be able to meet people who really knew Dr. King and walked with him all 3 times in Selma, it was really amazing. And this year we do this annually. It's part of the Courageous Conversation team's planning with the reverends that we work with. I think they've presented here before. And so if you can come down and see it, we had over 200 people attend last year. So hopefully this year will be equally amazing, and we'd love to see you there. And then also comedy starts back up tomorrow night here as well. You want to come hang out with me and her?
Thanks, Tim. So 6 p.m. Newman United Methodist Church Monday for Martin Luther King Day celebration. More happy bucks, more announcements that you want to pay for. Students pointing to someone. Oh, well, that's.
I would like to give 20 bucks, happy bucks for to thank Tara and Chrissy for taking time out of their busy day and really away from action and, you know, that's in your day. By the way, they worked so hard. Just the fact they took the time to come up here and talk to us is, I really appreciate it. So thank you again.
Yes, very good implementation. Thank you very much. We should have a fraction that goes with $8 mountain and $1 mountain. That the $1 mountain is like 1/8. So $8 mountain. Okay, any more? Okay, oh.
I've got 5 happy bucks to thank these young ladies for encouraging our youth to get out in nature and to experience it and to love it. And thank you for the work you do.
Okay, anyone else before we go to another number of activity where we have Christina? We'll check the card. This will be a winning card for our 50-50 drawing, and it's the 3 of clubs. We don't have the 3 of clubs. Hey!
Guess what?
So, come in late. Make fun.
She was at the park serving coffee and clothes.
Oh, that's Irene then.
Yeah.
Okay, we're about ready to wrap it up, so thanks again for everybody for coming. I just want to let you know, Jim Paul, if you remember, he was here back in December, our district governor. Anyway, he sent a very nice thank you note to us. He really enjoyed the ornament exchange and the whiskey we gave him, so. Then we also got a thank you note from the Women's Crisis Support Team for the donation that we gave them. I think that was in exchange for actually using their front porch or whatever at Halloween, but anyway, couple of nice thank you notes. And I thought it'd be fitting to finish with a quotation from John Muir, who said, "In every walk with nature, one receives far more than he seeks." With that, thank you all for coming.